In this video, we are going to discuss how we are going to approach the development of Java programs for Raspberry Pi. So I'm going to give you a very overall idea what needs to be done, give like step by step what should be done, so you kind of don't get lost of why we're doing this or that. So I'm going to try to explain. Let's hope that I succeed on that. So you know where we are going and how we are going to do it. So for developing Java programs for Raspberry Pi, there are a few paths that we can take, but most of there are different paths that you can do for developing programs in Raspberry Pi. But what we're going to do is most of them involve few things. In our case, we are developing Java programs, right? So one of them is we need to be able to run Java in the Raspberry Pi itself. So we are going to install something that is called the JRE, the runtime Java application in the Raspberry Pi. And we also need to have some kind of a tool that help us to write, compile, debug, and do other things for our Java programs that we are developing. So these two things are normally done for any developer that want to do that. So first, we need to have Java in our Raspberry Pi installed. And the second thing is having some kind of IDE, integrated development environment, that will help us write, compile, and debug our Java programs. The Java runtime, the JRE, and the Java Development Kit, JDK, is basically what we are going to use. There are the distinction between the two of them. The JRE is just the one that is going to run your program. So it kind of helps integrating the software plugins, the Java files, the support libraries, and so on to make your code to run. The JDK is another beast. It's the one that is used for developing your programs. So we have the source code, you can check things, you can debug, you can, how do I say, import things from a library to your program and things like that. So there are these two things here. That is the JRE, that is just for running your program, and the JDK is for developing your program. Normally, when you install the JDK, the JRE comes along with, but the other way around is not necessarily true. Sometimes you just install the JRE and the JDK does not come with the JRE, right? For the write, compile, debugging of Java programs, what we're going to do, you could use different kind of editors, right? Because Java is just a text, right? So you could use Notepad and Visual Studio Code, NetBeans, Eclipse, or whatever you want. It's up to you. I'm going to focus my attention on NetBeans IDE because it's the one that I'm going to use here. There were some like rocks or stones in the path when I was trying to install this NetBeans IDE and configure to talk to the Raspberry Pi. So I'm going to discuss about this. And so if you're using some other thing like VS Code or Eclipse or whatever you want, you might get some problems that is not discussed in this video here. What else? What I'm going to try to do, I think I explained this later, but what I'm going to try to do is have NetBeans only installed in the computer side, not in the Raspberry side. So this will help saving some memory in the micro SD card. So we are just sending the jar file to the Raspberry Pi after we compile and develop everything in our computer side. All right. In terms of Java, there are two flavors of Java out there. One is what we call Java JDK. That is the one maintained by Oracle. And there is kind of a new, it's an OpenJDK, that is the Apache. I don't know much about the history behind, but it looks like the Oracle eventually donated the Java JDK to Apache, and then Apache is maintaining now. So this is kind of phasing out the Java JDK, and most other applications now use the OpenJDK. So that's what we are going to go for. We're going to use the OpenJDK. And again, Java JDK and OpenJDK are related, but distinct concepts in the Java ecosystem. I'm not going to go in detail here. It's completely out of scope of these videos, but you can, of course, Google it and figure out what are the main differences between those two platforms. Let's put it this way. And again, we are going to use the OpenJDK for the Raspberry Pi. That is normally is commonly used nowadays. Raspberry Pi is using OpenJDK. And in terms of development of Java programs, we're going to use, as I mentioned before, the NetBeans integrated kit. And that's what I was saying in the previous slide. We are going to set up NetBeans in such a way that we are going to develop our programs in our computer and just deploy them to run in the Raspberry Pi. I saw some videos doing this using the GitHub. So the person in the laptop loads up, right? The upload the project into a GitHub, and then in the Raspberry Pi, they clone that GitHub back to the Raspberry Pi. We are going to avoid this as much as we can. We are going to go straight from NetBeans straight to Raspberry Pi. I had some issues doing that previously, and that's one of the reasons that I'm creating all these videos here. It's not just only for you, but for myself too, because in a year or so, I will forget how I solve those things that were like issues that I was having trying to use this remote platform in NetBeans. Okay, are you ready? So that's what we're going to do, okay? Installing and set up the Java, I'm going to do this in the next video. So this video doesn't get too long. Thank you very much.